Hello everyone, my name is Wayne.
And I'm Rebecca.
And we are your Bourbon Journey.
Welcome to episode 23 of Bourbon Trail Tales and Tastes, where we're taking you to Crestwood, Kentucky. What's there? Kentucky Artisan Distillery is there. And this was our 28th distillery and our 22nd stamp on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. We visited there December 10th of 2022, so it was a little bit chilly that day. But what other things do you remember about that visit?
Well, I remember turning down this road, and as we were driving, I saw this derelict white station wagon kind of up on the dirt. And I was thinking, it's like, we're kind of near a junkyard. Where the heck are we going? You know, and so...
He says that a lot when we're on the Bourbon Trail. Where the heck am I?
Yeah, you know, because there's a lot of stories with that. But anyway, so we continue to drive down the road, and lo and behold, we see the signs up and everything, and the red truck in the parking lot, and we pull on up and park.
Yeah, and we go in to check in. As always, you want to get there about 15 minutes early to check in for your tour. Probably not as important if it's a smaller distillery. The giant ones really want you there early because there's a lot of people on the tour, but we always try to get there early. And that gives you a chance to kind of peruse the gift shop a little bit, although we usually buy at the end. But that gives us a chance to kind of look around and kind of eyeball things we want. I'm always looking for, do they have a pin for my hat? Do they have an ornament for the tree? Things like that. And what's our bottle situation look like? What were you seeing in the gift shop?
Well, I looked around, and it was the one time, and actually the first time I actually saw a barrel for sale. And I looked at it. It was pretty decent price. It was like 125, 150, something like that. And I started thinking, oh man, that'd be really cool to have. And I started calculating in my head, where in the world would I put it? Where would it go? And I better not. So, but it was really cool to see for the first time a barrel for sale.
Mm-hmm. And then we were getting ready to go in for the tour. And for those of you who don't know, Kentucky Artisan Distillery has long been a contract distiller. Only very recently have they started making their own juice for themselves. So they've done a lot of contract distilling. One kind of famous brand that I bet you know of is Jefferson's Ocean. So a big part of the tour was learning about Jefferson's Ocean. We had seen it on the shelves, heard tale about it, but that time we got to really get deep into their story, I guess deep into the ocean waters, you might say, and talk about how one of the barrels ended up being on there way longer than it was supposed to be and things like that. And another story about a barrel came back and it was almost empty, and they said, oh, it was leaking overboard, but they're pretty sure that the crew was drinking it.
Yeah.
So things like that. It was just really funny to see. But of course, we also walked through the distillation process there. It's not a huge facility, but they have it organized very well so you can take a tour. Like the aisleways work, you can weave around, so to speak, to be able to get to things. And I thought that was pretty nice.
It was definitely a nice little facility, and it's changed a little bit. We went back recently and changed a little bit, but not a whole lot. And they've added another area. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, so I one of the things that was pretty cool, I thought, was that towards the end of the distillery tour itself, we went up these stairs, and it's where the workers would test things and things like that. We got to watch. It was the point in time where they were getting ready to put this mash into it, right? So
yeah.
It was all ready to go. And that was really cool. I mean, it was just pouring in there. It was really fun to watch. And we got to do a little taste of it too.
We did.
I think they gave us a taste of White Dog while we were standing up there too. They had it ready for us. So they were pretty generous from that perspective. Some places don't let you taste the White Dog and some don't let you taste the mash, but they did both, which I really enjoyed. And another memory, Wayne mentioned that we were back there recently in March, actually, and the same people that greeted us are the same people that greeted us that day. So
Yep.
They have long-standing people that are involved there. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't remember anything else about the tour. That was the main part. We didn't go like to a rick house or anything like that.
Nope.
So
we
they did have some barrel storage on site because they used barrels, wall of barrels basically to separate the tasting room from the distillery. So after we walked around there, then we had our tasting.
Yeah, and that may have actually been the first place that we were really close to Michael Veach, because he supposedly has some stuff out there. But that he actually just, I think, recently finally bottled.
Yeah, they were recently, I saw it on Instagram. Maybe Maggie Kimbrell had something up about that they were bottling his barrel. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, so anyhow, we ended up doing a tasting as well. And there was a huge group that was in the room, and there was a guy that was by himself and then a couple. And fortunately, we ended up with the guy and the couple because the whole group, this large group, was just not happy. But we ended up with a group of people that were into it.
Yeah.
So that ended up being really cool.
Yeah, and the people we were sitting with actually did the tour with us. The other group had, I don't know if they were late for their tour or they were going to give them a tour right afterward. My gut is they were late for their tour. So they said, well, we'll do your tasting and then we'll show you around.
Yeah.
So that happens if you're not on time, just saying. But the one couple we met were from Pennsylvania, and we walked out with them, and as they were getting in the car, their car was just filled with bourbon. And I said, oh my goodness, you guys have really been on the trail. And then they explained that her husband had just beaten cancer, and his wish all the time while he was on the trail of beating cancer was that if he came through this, he wanted to do the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. And by gosh, that's what they're doing because he was successful. And we hope they're still enjoying the trail and drinking that bourbon because they had the car loaded up and he was happy, quite the happy camper. We were very happy for him.
It was a good memory. It was a very nice time. And so that leads us to this bottle because we looked at several. The owner had been in the previous day. Had signed a bunch of bottles. We have another one over there. The goat?
Billy Goat.
The Billy Goat.
Strut. Mm-hmm.
We debated on that one, but we decided to settle on this guy here.
Because it's still offered.
Yes.
It's still a thing. And also, we bought a bunch of Jefferson's Ocean that day, I will say. We started our collection. We have a whole shelf of it now. We started our collection that day. So we did walk away with quite a bit, but we felt like we do something that's a little bit more distillery oriented. Jefferson's Ocean's in the process of not being distilled there anymore. It's building its own distillery right now. So I'm guessing it's going to be there for a little bit longer. So it's kind of nice that you can go in there and pick up quite a few different varieties of Jefferson's Ocean as well. So let's get into the taste part of the video. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this Whiskey Row bottle. So Whiskey Row is one of the only pre-prohibition style bourbons that you might have found in a classy speakeasy, as they say, down at the room of the Seelbach Hotel. It's still part of Whiskey Row in Louisville, Kentucky, but they say this is a blend of small batch barrels to really try to mirror those early recipes. So this particular one is a bottled in bond. It is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. The company is Whiskey Row Distillers, but the distillery is Kentucky Artisan. The mash bill is a 4-grain. It is 67% corn, 20% rye, 5% wheat, and 8% malted barley. Per bottle and bond rules, it's aged at least 4 years and is 100 proof. This particular offering was released in 2022. If you're into this kind of thing, it was batch 3 and barrel 14 if you're comparing tasting notes. And we did purchase that day at the distillery for $99. So we hadn't opened it until getting ready for this tasting. You know, that happens with us. We go on these big outings where we visit a bunch of distilleries and it just takes you a while to get these bottles open or they get put on a shelf. And so now it's time to shine and it gets to be tasted now. So yay.
Well, let's see what it's like.
So color-wise, it's kind of a medium amber, perhaps. It's not super light, but it's not super dark.
Medium's probably a good call.
Yeah. And it's got a little bit of a brownish golden hint, which is why I kind of lean more toward the amber versus a mahogany. It's not dark enough for mahogany in my mind.
So you get a couple little legs.
Yeah. It's not super leggy. Maybe
Not
they'll
really.
form more while we're sniffing it. Let's see what its aromas are about.
There's a little bit of caramel.
Getting a little bit of zestiness.
There's a little smokiness.
I'm getting some orange zest. Does that sound right?
I would buy that. A little bit of ethanol.
Yeah, not a lot of sweet note for me. It's a hint of it. Maybe a slight caramel, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to remember the pre-prohibition style wasn't exactly what we drink today either. So It may not be what we're accustomed to in a bourbon. Now the legs did form a little bit. I'd call it a medium viscosity. It's definitely not a heavy viscosity, but it does have some light legs.
Yeah. So will you try this puppy?
To Whiskey Row, Kentucky Artisan and pre-prohibition bottle and bond. Cheers.
What she said. I definitely get smokiness.
What's funny for me, the orange is still there, but on the nose, it was kind of a bright orange. Like you think you've just peeled open an orange and that smell of the orange is popping up. On the palate, it's more like you accidentally took a piece of the rind. So it's more like the actual zest itself versus the aromas popping forth. So it's a little bit bitter from the orange for me.
I'd agree.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely agree. I got to try this again.
And that was the dominant taste for me when I first tasted it. So I'm going to, like Wayne, take another sip. I'm looking for a sweet note. Are you getting a sweet note?
No.
Yeah, I'm not finding any kind of fruit. A stone fruit, I should say. I've already found the orange. So the citrus is absolutely there. And then, like I said, it gets to more the pithy side of the orange on the palate. Maybe a hint of almost a burnt caramel, because everything on the palate for me is tending to be a little bit bitter. And I don't know if that's just the style of that time. Well, that could very well be. I didn't study that. I should have probably studied that before we drank it.
I have to laugh because you used the word pithy, and I thought you said for a moment something else, and I was like, well,
the pith, that's what it's called.
I get it. I get it. I know what you were saying.
The rind.
I was attempting to make a joke.
Okay. So yeah, it's got some bitter notes and some darkish notes. It's really weird because it was light and bright on the nose, and then it got a little more, darker, a little more bitter. You said you were getting smokiness on the palate. Yeah. So if we want to go to the finish, because I'm kind of listening to my finish right now.
Oh, I want to go to the finish.
So I'm definitely getting, the finish seems kind of medium to long. It's actually lasting.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I pick up the glass and I get that really lovely bright orange, and then it turns to the bitter part of the orange in my mouth. Kind of confuses me a little bit. I like it when everything kind of lines up and takes you on a really pretty journey and you know where you're going. I like surprises along the way as long as they're real positive ones, but that was not quite a positive surprise.
Well, if this is how they were making whiskey pre-prohibition, prohibition would have just ended whiskey altogether because nobody would have wanted to go back to what I'm tasting. I don't know if it's the bottle. I don't know if it's just my taste buds today, but I agree there's like this sort of bitter orange rind that it's not anywhere in my wheelhouse. And there is a tad bit of smokiness, which is probably the redemption for me on this bottle. But a lot of the stuff that's coming with it, including the finish, it does last, but it goes back to that rind that you expect to get from a bar in a seedy part of town. I've
never gone to a bar looking for an orange rind.
I'm just guessing what it would be like.
I'm getting a little on the finish for me. I'm getting a little bit of pepper, some black pepper notes. It is a medium to long finish. Still stays in that more savory range, and it doesn't burn.
No,
it doesn't burn. So it's not like, and it's a bottle and bond, so it's 100 proof, but it doesn't have any kind of burn to it. It's just warm, but it's also still stays a little bitter. So
yeah,
if you are someone who prefers a non-sweet bourbon, something that is more savory, you might really dig this. And I'm also thinking about, it's got these darker tones. I could almost see this because of the citrus piece, maybe being good with a fish dinner or something like that, because the citrus might complement that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think about how I would use this bourbon, because right now I wouldn't sit here and just drink it neat,
right,
without pairing it with some sort of food or dessert. And based on the tone, and I'm not a big fish eater, but I could see that those notes might go well with that. But I think It's interesting. I'm glad to taste it because it does take you back, I suppose, to what pre-Prohibition whiskey was all about. I have to say I like today's a little bit better. Let's just say that.
Do you think this would go in a cocktail? I mean, it's got such a weird flavor. Do you think it would work with any type of cocktail out there, kind of as a counter?
I think it might work with an old fashioned, because an old fashioned often uses an orange in it and often uses orange bitters and aromatic bitters. So I think that would complement this and probably accentuate it in a positive way.
Okay.
So maybe we'll try that later with in an old fashioned. So I think that's a great idea. Thank you for that suggestion.
I'm surprised. Usually I don't come up with much other than bad jokes.
But I mean, that's the first, when I think about something orange in a cocktail, I tend to go to the old fashioned.
Right.
But that's a good idea. Before we wrap up this, I just want to say, and it's not about our first visit, because we did go back in March, as I mentioned, and they have a new thing now. One new thing is they're actually making their own brand. So we did get to do a few tastes, and I thought it was pretty good, and out of the bottle. But then the nice lady in the gift shop, she said, I can probably call ahead and get you down the street where we're doing barrel thieving. And so we're like, yeah, we got time. We weren't on a schedule that day. So we hightailed it down the street, and they were waiting for us. We're the only ones there, and there were 5 barrels set up, and we got to thieve out of each one of those. I thought it was a fantastic experience. What was it, like $30?
It was $30
for 5 decent thievings. I think that was a great price point, and we got to taste what they're really doing right now, what's been aging. They had a rye, a wheat whiskey, a wheated bourbon, a bourbon, and a single malt. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
So we tried them all, and we each picked one that we really liked, and then they thieved that right into a bottle for us, and then the distiller happened to walk in and he signed the bottle. So we thought that was a fantastic experience, and it's a new thing they've just added. So even though it wasn't part of our initial visit, I just really wanted to add that to show you how they're progressing and doing some other things now that might really be of interest to you. And their local Crestwood, Kentucky is just barely north of Louisville. It's about maybe a 15-minute drive if you're leaving Louisville, and it's on the I-71 if you're heading north. Just after them, you'd stop off at Neely Family Distillery, and then Boone County Distillery, and then you would be in Covington and Newport and Cincinnati if you kept on going. So it's kind of convenient to get to, so I would recommend making it a stop on the trail.
So I really liked how professional they were about it and how they handled it. It was really cool.
And it's just nice to not have waste of product and to be served.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be on the experience, and I want to be served, and I want to be able to drink, and I want to go to the next one. So I thought it was very nicely handled, and then they put it in a bottle for us. So I just want to recommend that you stop in there, and now you can check out one of their new experiences and see what they are doing for themselves. They're now not just contract distilling.
So Kentucky Artisan, thank you so much for the hospitality you showed us on the visit the first time, as well as the second. We really like your products and such. If you like what we do, please hit the subscribe button. Always remember to drink responsibly. Cheers and have a great day.
Cheers.
Cheers.